Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech,
And this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
and welcome back to the Snob OS Show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. We want to thank everybody for coming back. This is episode 126. We're moving right along, and without further ado, we're going to get right into it. Let's start with the lowdown, where we talk all things Apple, the popularity of the AirPods. I think Apple wants to double down, and looks like, based on the rumors, that Apple is going to release a pair of Beats Studio in-ear earbuds. Of course, they're not going to be the traditional white Apple earbuds. I think that's the traditional Apple look, to where they're the white, or the space gray, or the traditional Apple colors. These, from based on the pictures that I saw, they're going to be earbuds are going to be black, and of course they're going to have the Beats logo on the outside. Some people, of course, the super sleuths that dig through all the iOS updates, they found this info within the iOS 14.6 beta. But other than that, that is it. No word on pricing, no word on availability, no word on if these actually exist outside of maybe some lines of code or some additional information within iOS 14.6. Of course, Beats is owned by Apple, so these possibly could compete against maybe the entry-level AirPods or even the AirPods Pro, based on if they have any sort of noise canceling, anything like that. So I guess I wanted to ask you, do you think by Apple using Beats to release a competitor to AirPods, do you think that'll take some of the muster from the Apple branded AirPods, or is this a good problem to have?
I think it's a good problem to have because we also have to keep in mind there are a lot of people who just hate Apple and don't want to have any Apple products. So this is a way, it seems to me, for Apple to get in on some of that money. They can offer technically an Apple product that people will buy because it's not Apple branded. And again, if the money shifts from AirPods to Beats, which I don't think it's likely a huge shift, all that money still goes back into Apple. So I think it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, and I think, the Beats brand is super popular, still super popular. I think that if they released a line of, pro-ish Beats in their earbuds, I think a lot of people will scoop those up. Like I said, I don't think that will, people like us who, are particular to the Apple brand won't necessarily switch over to Beats for any reason, other than, maybe they're cheaper. I could see the Beats Studio ear earbuds maybe being a little bit cheaper, but even still not enough for me to say, let me try them out,
Yeah.
All right, all right. So moving on, another thing, keeping with the Apple Music theme, Apple is looking to add hi-fi music to its streaming library. No word on, well, there's availability in June possibly, but Apple will also add lossless audio and Dolby Atmos functionality to their music library. The popular thing is there's no extra cost to Apple users. So, I remember when Tidal first came out. I remember when Spotify first came out, they offered like premium or, step up prices to get hi-fi lossless music. But it looks like Apple has decided they're just going to add all of those to their streaming library. The only possible problem with that is HomePod will only support Dolby Atmos. So you think of your traditional HomePod and then the smaller HomePod Mini, you'll only be able to get the Dolby Atmos sound. You won't get the lossless audio like you would if you had AirPods or, any other sort of audio headphones from Apple. So I just wanted to, get your opinion on that. Are you a big lossless audio fan, or do you even notice?
So I'm not a huge Apple Music user. I primarily use Spotify and Tidal, and I've tried both the step down version and the hi-fi version of Tidal, and I have noticed a difference. It's just, when Apple Music came out, I already had, Spotify Premium
Right.
and Tidal. I was like, there's no need to buy anything else. But I think the angle that they're coming from is we're not going to upcharge you. So that may shift some people to say, okay, I can drop down to the lower tier, say maybe on Tidal, and then just, get into the Apple Music or, use the Apple Music for the hi-fi.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I can see a lot of people jumping on that as well. Of course, Apple is trying to, keep everybody in the ecosystem, so being able to offer that. And plus, Apple is one of the giants when it comes to music streaming. So I don't think it's nothing for them to flip a switch. There's no extra programming, there's no major revisioning of the Apple Music app. You just turn on that switch to allow lossless audio or Dolby Atmos, and then boom, there's another reason for people not to leave the ecosystem.
Yeah.
All right. The last story in the lowdown, which I thought was surprising, but to be expected, I guess,
Yeah.
96% of iOS users are opting out of app tracking. So we've talked about this, past couple episodes, specifically with Facebook. They had this big campaign against Apple saying, it's going to drastically change or alter their small business owners' ability to reach their customers if it's allowed for Apple to give people the option to opt in to ad tracking. And basically what it is, according to Facebook and some other advertisers, if you allow yourself to be tracked across websites, you go to a website, you do a Google search for something, you view something, you click on something, that information can then be sent back to advertisers so they can do a better job, air quotes, of serving you relevant ads. Who knows what else they do with it, but that's the explanation. Well, without that ability to track, Facebook was kind of saying, hey, this is going to affect us majorly. And it looks like they were right because 96 people, I'll just read this from the story that I pulled it from. Data from Flurry Analytics shows users rejecting tracking at much higher rates than were predicted by surveys that were conducted before iOS 14.5 went live. One of those surveys found that just shy of 40% would opt in to tracking when prompted. That's the survey. They said maybe 40% of people will opt out. Well, come to find out, only 4% of users actually allow tracking, that is a lot. That is a
Yeah,
big jump.
yeah, I assumed that it would be a high number. I just didn't think it would be 96%. I figured maybe somewhere in the 70s, maybe low 80s, but and that was being, extremely optimistic. I'm surprised that it's this high of a number.
Right. Yeah, so we'll see what that means for advertisers. My original thought was, and it still may be true, they may just have to change how they do advertising. Maybe they do more email inbox tracking, not tracking, but marketing advertising, to where that way people have more power over how they're tracked. Because if I go to a website, go to a product, whatever, I enter my email and click the box that says, people can reach out to me for whatever the fine print says, maybe advertisers will have to do that more, because it looks like there are people, when given the option, yeah, no, I don't want you to track me randomly. Now, if you reach out to me directly, I may let you track me like through email, but like just randomly, that's creepy.
It's very creepy. The whole prospect of I am clicking on an ad in your app, but when I leave it, you're still tracking me. That's stalkerish.
Right, right. And even if it's anonymous data, even if they're not tracking my address or my social security number,
So
or
they say.
right, so they say, allegedly,
Can't trust Facebook.
that still is just weird to know that I'm on my phone doing whatever. There's some people I don't do any crazy stuff on my phone, but there's some people who search for some things, look for some things, participate in some things that in
Not
the
even on VPN or
right,
using
right,
any type of
private window,
incognito,
no
yeah, private
incognito
browsing
mode,
or anything. They just out here just in the wild.
doing stuff, right? I'm pretty sure those people in the back of their mind is like, wait, is Facebook watching me do this? Yes, they
Actually,
are.
yes, they are. Because I know I saw something. I want to say I saw it was either on Twitter or Instagram. Apparently, some TikToker showed that the iPhone is invisibly like taking pictures of your screen or something.
No, I
I
didn't see
thought I
this.
Yeah, I thought I bookmarked it, but I didn't. But I think I saw it on Instagram because a TikToker I think it was on like, like Baller Alert or Shade Room or something like that, where this TikToker was able to prove that they are doing invisible, photography of your phone. And I was like,
Well, like
wow.
taking screenshots or actually taking a
Mhm.
picture using a camera.
Taking a picture using the camera.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I didn't see that. Was he saying was the user saying that this was TikTok or was he saying this was Apple?
This was Apple. They said it on TikTok.
Oh, okay. Oh, they said it on TikTok. Okay. So
Hmm.
they weren't saying they were using the TikTok app and the TikTok app was taking
Right.
pictures. Okay.
Right. I want to try and find it. Maybe I'll see if I can find it.
Okay.
But yeah, I was like, wow. And unfortunately, Instagram doesn't let you bookmark stuff like Twitter does.
Yeah, and going in to try to find something posthumously in Facebook or
It's
Instagram, you can forget it. If that screen refreshes, it's a wrap.
completely lose your
Place.
spot.
Yeah, there should be an option to where,
Don't auto refresh.
right, right.
Let me scroll back up to the top when I feel like
Let
it.
me continue where I was when I, went to another screen or another app.
Right.
So yeah, all that to say that's surprising, but not surprising in the fact that most people probably wouldn't voluntarily opt into being tracked all around the place, even if it is just to serve me quote unquote relevant ads, which in and of itself is creepy because me and my wife have just like yesterday we're starting to see all of these certified financial planner and brokerage ads on our television. And
Hmm.
my wife was like, well, how did they know we were doing searches for, how do they know we were talking about looking for a financial planner? I was like, we use YouTube TV. And I was like, who
Mhm.
owns YouTube TV? And she was like, oh, Google. I'm like, where did you search in your search box? What did you type?
It's all tied
Right. And
together.
but she was like, well, she said, well, I didn't think, how did they put it on the TV as a commercial? I'm like, well, and you may not have this issue. I don't know if you know, but sometimes when we're watching a TV program, it'll be like blank. It'll have music, background music, and it'll say your broadcast will start shortly or whatever the case may be. And I was trying to tell her, I'm like, well, all of those ads aren't ads that the network, somebody purchased through the network. Those are ads that people bought from Google. So they're using Google ads to put commercials on Google TV and they don't get the timing down right. So, Google may run an ad in the place to where there's supposed to be a commercial break, but the
Mhm.
Google ad may be shorter than the actual commercial break, so they got to fill in that extra time with that blank. So that's what that is, versus normally when you watch a television show, it'd be commercial break, commercial, then right into the next show. When you have that little blank space in time, somebody didn't do the math to where the Google ads, specifically for YouTube TV,
Mhm.
the Google ads ran faster than the actual network break. So I was trying to explain out. She's like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. So all that to say, the fact that, you could just be having a conversation and Alexa or Google Home or your phone may be listening, because you got your microphone turned on, because there are some apps that are doing that to where you just be talking and then, but, oh, word, let me write that down
Let me
and
make a note.
and serve you this irrelevant ad, which in of itself is creepy. I would much rather get random ads, even if I am searching for something.
Mm.
The fact that I'm searching it over here, and then I turn to go do this over here, and it's like, oh, follow me over here.
It's all one big like ecosystem.
Right, very Minority Reportish, and I don't think we're ready for the precogs to come yet.
Right. And I did find the invisible photograph deal.
Okay.
So the TikTok user was Bree Thomason. And so the video that she was showing is the mobile device was snapping infrared images of an iPhone user. And so what she said is a digital camera using an infrared lens is seen filming an iPhone user observing his home screen. So it says, I'm reading from this article I found on a local Fox news program, KTVX. Anyway, so it says, as the iPhone user stares at the device, Thomason's digital camera captures the iPhone snapping multiple infrared images every 5 to 10 seconds. So, as you can imagine, people are like, oh my God, they're tracking me, they're tracking me. But Apple did come back and say that they know this is an aspect of the iPhone, and the aspect that this digital camera was capturing of the infrared is the technology in the camera that allows users to control their Face ID and their Animoji. So
Got
if
you.
your Animoji,
Got you.
it
Right.
tracks your
Right.
face and your movement. So they're saying that is
What was firing off?
what they were capturing, what they were seeing. And
Allegedly.
yeah. Well, she has a video of it happening.
What
So,
what Apple's
oh yeah, what
explanation for
Apple's
it?
saying, what
Yeah.
Apple's explanation is, yes, definitely allegedly. And also it says, according to Apple, the feature is available on iPhone 10 and later in iPad Pro models with the A12X Bionic chip.
Okay.
So yeah, so they're saying it's a new feature that's a part of their True Depth IR
Right.
camera.
Right. Which
So it
is
is true.
it is a thing. They've touted that before. Again, of course, we're not reading end user license agreements. We're not reading any of that stuff. So I'm pretty sure maybe somewhere dug deep into those hundreds of pages or whatever, they did mention that it will be on and active as it learns or adapts to or adjusts to whatever environmental, situational thing that they need in order to fine tune this program. But again, I think companies going forward, they're going to have to do a much better job at explaining to us in clear, concise, short, ways. This is what we're going to be doing,
And this is why we're doing it.
and leave it up to, don't give me the option to opt in versus just automatically opting me in. And then I have to figure out how to opt out. Right.
Or giving people the option, like a lot of people don't use Animojis. Allow me to turn that off if
All
I
the way
want to.
off, completely
Yeah.
off,
Let me
disable
toggle it
that.
on and off as I prefer.
Right.
But that's essentially what the invisible photos of you are. So
Right.
it is a thing, but according to Apple, it appears that it's not for any nefarious reasons,
Right.
but it is a thing.
All right. All right, so that's all we got in the lowdown. Let's move on to second string where we talk all things tech. Google I/O was this week, I think, and I think I think that is Google's, big yearly annual event to where they launch new products, launch new services, tell you what's going on, and pretty much most of the second string is full of some of these interesting things that come out of Google. So the first one I got is Google's smartphone camera, the Pixel, is going to do a better job at predicting darker skin. And I'll just read a couple of quotes that I thought were interesting. They come from this Gizmodo story rather. For people of color, photography has not always been seen as we want it to be seen, even in some of our own Google products. Google's Samir Samat said, Google says it's making changes to auto white balance adjustments to bring out natural brown tones. So basically what Google is saying is our bad, going back to this whole, inherent bias in technology to where they are going to start tweaking some of their photography technology to do a better job of capturing darker skin. Some of the things they also mentioned was the computer will also consider hairstyles, including a more accommodating portrait mode for curly and wavy hair. Doing a better job of consulting with a diverse team of photographers, artists, and designers to help improve its computational photography algorithm, so on and so forth. So, this kind of goes along with those stories that we talked about, to where, two of their engineers at Google, black women specifically, were specifically pointing to the fact that there is some inherent bias being built into Google artificial intelligence, machine learning. And, I don't know if this is a direct connection to that, but the fact that going forward to now at Google's I/O, they have listed at least one way that Google is going to do better at, being more accommodating of people of different backgrounds, specifically in this case, different skin tones.
So a bit of a tangent on that. I'm not usually a huge like news program kind of watcher, but there was this on 60 Minutes. Anderson Cooper did this whole big segment on photo bias, AI bias in the cameras that some uh, law enforcement are using. There have been several instances where black men have been uh, accused of a crime that it wasn't necessary, it wasn't them, it was a miss. Basically, the way that the algorithm was trained was incorrect, and it was leading false to false arrests. But the thing that is getting the most conversation out of that article is the omission of black women scientists in this space. So they interviewed the black men, of course, who were wrongfully arrested or accused of a crime. But what they didn't do is include any of the black women AI scientists that have been leading this research. We've talked about Timit Gebru from Google a lot. There's another female scientist, God forgive me for if I say your name incorrectly, Joy Bulolamwini and Inoluwu Deborah Raj. So these are three female black scientists who have been doing groundbreaking research as it relates to racial bias and artificial intelligence, as it relates to images and camera capture. But while seeming to exclude any of the black voices and black women specifically on the research side of this. Yes, they interviewed the black men who were victims of this, but the women who have been doing the research and kind of ringing the alarm, they were completely left out of this conversation. But what they did do was have a programmer, a white man programmer, they had this whole conversation with him. And he was citing, he is a computer scientist at NIST, which is National Institute of Standards and Technology, and a lawyer at Georgetown Center and Privacy and Technology. Two white men who they are going to for leading edge information. And the thing is, the information that these men were talking about, it was not as recent as the information. These women have been doing this work long before the NIST study came out.
Right.
So there is information already out there. The alarm has already been rung, but they choose in a conversation regarding racial bias to exclude three of the four leading scientists in this space who happen to be black women out of the conversation.
And who have been discussing this, trying to raise awareness, get the word out.
Right.
Yeah, that,
we know what it is.
I think for a quick hit job, quick hit story, of course, 60 Minutes, I'm not saying that's, a quick hit, but I think it's easier to point or interview or examine the effect versus really digging deep into the cause. I think news, reporters, news outlets, they're just, okay, we're just going to report the news. when in actuality, a lot of people look at the news, watch the news, and are under the assumption that they are the ones that are driving, you know, driving these causes, driving awareness for these causes. And they are, there are a lot of news media outlets who are raising awareness, raising, interest in certain things. But, I think journalists, news people, they really don't want to get too bogged down into actually not making change. But like you mentioned, it would have been not easier. It would have been more complicated. It would have been harder to them. It would have been more work to try to search out some of these black women that you mentioned, when it's just, to them, it's just like, hey, let's just go find somebody at random institute and ask them a couple questions, but focus the majority on the effect, which these cameras were falsely identifying, and these black guys are getting thrown in jail, incorrectly.
Right. And let me clarify, I did misspeak. So the lawyer that I mentioned, it was not a white man, it was a white woman, Claire Garvey. And she did, because there was this big dust up on Twitter, she did come back and say, they should have done more to highlight this, especially since there's a whole movie on Netflix called Coded Bias that these three women have participated in that pretty much lays all this out. So this is on Netflix, so it's not some small on YouTube series,
or
this is
some extra deal. Or they had to do a whole lot of research to find out who these people are when there's a Netflix story. So
Google would have.
Right. So throw my earlier idea on out the window about how, being harder to find these people who may not want to speak up or whatever. Obviously they do, because they're on Netflix, right?
Right.
So yeah. So all that to say, all around the world to say, it looks like Google is starting to, at the very least, make some fundamental changes or just recognize how some of their technology, even though there is no human actually doing in this case, taking pictures, but we create this code, we create the software, we create this hardware, and some of our biases naturally will bleed into some of this technology. And the fact that they are making this change shows that they are starting to acknowledge that, even just on a very basic level. All right. So moving on to the next story. Another thing out of Google, like I mentioned, Google is set to release a quote unquote quick delete button of your search history. So I found this story in Cultamac, and one of the Google people says, we're introducing a new quick delete option to delete the last 15 minutes of your search from your search history with a single tap from the Google account menu. The company just for instance, like if you're doing a search in Google, the reason why this is so important is because the company doesn't just save the terms you look for, but also the page you visited as part of the search. It adds these search histories to your personal profiles. It creates for all users and then sells the info to the advertiser. So, of course, this goes back to our story about, advertisers following you, advertisers tracking you around. Is not just as simple as saving your search history in order to better recommend some search results, because, the popular thing with Google, you go into Google and type in, how do I, and it auto completes, with a random amount of things. A lot of people assume, well, they know what I've searched for. They know the words, the keywords that I've put in, and that's how they use that well, no. They're doing a lot more than just using your Google search history to auto-complete your search results. They're actually looking at pages that you search. They're also creating a profile so then they can sell that info to advertisers. So I guess, in this whole new data privacy world, Apple's doing it. Facebook's trying to fight it, but they're getting dragged along,
kicking and screaming, but they have to agree to it.
This is the new wave. People are starting to speak out and starting to appreciate companies that are making a concerted effort to do a better job at protecting their data privacy. And it looks like Google is just one of those companies with this new quick delete button that's giving you a little bit more control over your data and your privacy. But at the very least, like I said, giving you the option to quickly delete the last 15 minutes of your search history. Now, depending on where you are, who you're searching, what you're searching
What you're
for,
searching, as we mentioned earlier.
15 minutes may do it. If you out here doing some shady stuff and your girlfriend or your boyfriend walk in the room, or your husband or your wife or your
See
kids,
that quick delete
right, your
might come in
kids walk in the
handy.
room, you may want to do a quick delete before you turn that computer over so somebody can do those searches. But of course, like I said, the fact that I just thought it was interesting because, like I said, in addition to just them saving your search history, they're actually following you around to some of your websites that are visiting, and the things you're typing in those websites. So I thought that was interesting, that Google's actually, going that deep. All right. All right. So that is it for second string. We're going to move right along with for the culture. I think if you've been living under a rock, then you probably don't know about Bill Gates and him him separating from his wife, Melinda Gates. We, at the beginning, just kind of assumed that they just come to this conclusion that, hey, we've been in it for a while, we're comfortable in our skin to where we are okay with finally just deciding we're going to, split amicably. But we're still going to do all these things.
We're still in the foundation
We're still a
together.
foundation together. We're
Yeah.
still, doing this good philanthropic work, in which they are.
Mhm.
But it looks like
It
them
is not as clean as we
is not
thought.
as clean and not as simple as that. Some of the earlier stories that I heard was the fact that Bill Gates, shortly after getting married to his wife Melinda, they were under some sort of agreement that he was allowed, air quotes, to still go on this yearly vacation with his ex-girlfriend or something like that. That was one of the earlier things I heard. But again,
That one I didn't hear.
so what?
I
Yeah,
said
yeah.
that one I didn't
I
hear.
heard he had an arrangement with his wife, and his wife okayed him being able to take this annual vacation trip or something with his ex girlfriend. Of
Mm.
course, that lasted for like a year or two or something like that. And then the ex girlfriend who he was going on this trip with got married, and I guess the husband was like, "Yeah, no, there's no more."
I'm not down like that.
So that's when that stopped. That was the only thing I had heard that could have been some sort of, right,
Salacious.
right, right. But no, that's not it. I
Mm-mm.
I don't have a specific link for this story because I pulled all this stuff from all the different links that
Different
I see.
sources. Yep.
Right. So one of the things that I heard that Bill was literally digging in, sending emails to Microsoft and Bill and Gates. What is it? Bill and Melinda
Bill and
Gates
Melinda Gates Foundation.
Foundation
Yep.
employees. He was petitioning them via company email. So
Shooting his shot on
in
the
in
Microsoft email.
in the email inbox, I didn't put the quote in here, but I thought I read where he would say, "If you're uncomfortable with this, forget it never happened. Forget I wrote
Ooh,
this.
disappeared. I
we
didn't say it.
we can still work
But if you are
together,
into it,
right? We can still work together. It'll be cool, no issues or whatever. On its head, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But the fact that you are Bill Gates, the owner, the founder, the leader, the superior, and you're doing it with a subordinate, that's a whole nother level. It's one thing for me as a coworker to be a coworker for somebody and shoot them an email. That's kind of like this on the same level type thing. Because people hook up at work all the time, right?
right.
The fact that the founder and the owner of the company is actually doing it makes it a little bit awkward to actually look at them at the face afterwards and pretend like this never happened. So that was weird.
And
Another
that's really bold of him. I
Right,
mean, like hella bold.
right. One of the major things that came out of this was recently Bill Gates stepped down from the Microsoft board in 2020 amid allegations of an appropriate relationship with a staffer shortly after his marriage to Melinda Gates. So in addition to the ex-girlfriend he's taking trips with,
People
he
he's in on.
right, he's engaging in other relationships with women within Microsoft. Another thing that I read, I didn't even put this in the notes, the way him and Melinda Gates got together was she came on to Microsoft as an engineer doing something. He propositioned her, and they end up getting married. So him doing it within his job is his MO, right? Right. So as a result of this, this I guess
Affair, because they both admitted, and he admitted that it was an actual affair. And when he stepped down from the board, I'm sure, like many other people, I thought he was like he's on his global philanthropy thing, so he's about to just go and change the world and
right.
cure malaria and save the planet. But nah, he stepped down because he got caught up in some ish.
Right, right. This probe was about to start, according to him and his people. Him stepping down had nothing to do with this probe, but yeah,
Of
right.
course, it
Come on,
didn't.
right? Come on, right? So, another thing that I think, not I think, people are reporting that was the straw that broke the camel's back with Melinda Gates was the fact that, Bill Gates was maintaining, or at one point was trying to foster a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, even after original
It all came out.
allegations. Right,
Yeah.
right. Not the recent stuff. Like, Jeffrey Epstein's been in this game for a minute.
He's been a pedophile for a long time,
Right. And according to the story that I
allegedly,
read, right, allegedly,
but he's dead. So
yeah, according to the story I read, that Melinda was aware and didn't appreciate or like the idea of Bill Gates trying to foster some relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. So I think, again, like I said, that may have been the straw that broke the camel's back. But then, of course, they go through and announce their separation / divorce. One of the interesting things, that this is money right here.
yeah,
Melinda Gates booked a private island at $1,000 per night
a
to
hundred thousand.
$100,000 a night. Plus, I think it was over that, to escape the immediate press, backlash as a result of this announcement. So they make the announcement. She jets off to this place and let things cool down.
Can't find me.
Right.
Don't
And
look for me.
fast forward a week, and then all this other news comes out. So all that to say, we have painted the media, regular folks, we have painted Bill Gates as a squeaky clean, kind of cornballish,
Nerdy, kind of
nerdy,
goody goody.
is sweet, kind of like the nice guys finish last type guy who didn't really finish last.
He finished first.
He finished first. Found his wife, founded this great company,
Got all
made
the money in the
billions
world.
of dollars, giving it all away. Cool. This is the guy we all strive to be like, right? Well, come to find out, that's not the case, right?
Big Willie style out here.
But what I wanted to talk about as a result of all this, all that stuff could be true. The only thing that I could see a major problem with is the Jeffrey Epstein thing. But other than that, for Bill and Melinda Gates to be together for this long, and seemingly aware of,
His
knowing about
proclivities.
these activities, these relationships, and them, I don't know who we don't know what their conversations were, but apparently, seemingly, she was aware of or even approved of these, and then it just got to a point to where she couldn't take it anymore. Again, I'm just alleging, speculative,
Because we don't know.
because we don't know. I guess I wanted to ask. Well, before I get that, in addition to Bill Gates, we've heard about celebrities, athletes, politicians. We all kind of unwritten rule that rich, you think of Kevin Samuels, the guy that speaks to these quote unquote high value women, or high value men rather, he comes from the standpoint of A rich, wealthy, high value man is going to want certain things. And if you are a woman in this situation who is attracted to these wealthy, powerful, influential people, there are some things that's going to come along with that, right?
BS.
That's his
But
whole
that's his
angle.
shtick.
That's his
Yeah.
stick. And proof positive, Bill Gates doing these things, and Melinda kind of knowing or aware of, or maybe even you could say kind of agreed to these relationships. The problem I'm having is, if that is the case, and if as a rich wealthy man there's some things you're going to be able to do and get away with it, how do they mess it up? you know, because I'm not understanding in all these situations to where the women who have decided to split, you think of Bezos, you think
Mm-hmm.
of Bill Gates, you think of all of these athletes, like a Michael
Mm-hmm.
Jordan, even the late Kobe Bryant,
Mm-hmm.
all of these athletes, all of these rich, wealthy, influential people have been caught up in these situations. And I'm curious as to how do they, if it's agreed upon, how do you then go and mess it up? Because personally, if I was in a relationship to where, if I was in a situation to where I was the type of man who said, hey, I'm this rich dude, I've got, if you want to be with me, I'm going to be doing some things. Are you okay with that or not? That in
Mm-hmm.
and of itself is an agreement. I may not like it, other people may not like it, but for the people involved, if the person that I'm with says, okay, just don't embarrass me, keep
Mm-hmm.
your stuff on the low,
Then you go and embarrass them.
and then you go in and embarrass, I don't understand. You got it all. That's what I'm trying. That's the question I'm trying to get to all the way around the world to say, if you've got all of that, what is it to these men or these people in these positions that still go and mess it up? I just don't understand, especially with a Bill Gates, because had this persona. You would think he would do a better
He
job.
had the good guy image.
Right,
He'd
right,
been married to his wife for almost 30 years, over 130 billion dollars. I
right,
mean, you had everything, but I think what it boils down to is that some people are just habitual line steppers.
right.
I mean, and I think you pretty much gave the answer in the question. They already have everything.
Right.
So with these, I'm assuming, type of people, they're always, trying to go further, do better, do something different. And when you have all the money in the world, when you have all the access in the world, when you have everything you could ever possibly want, or you can go and buy or get whatever you want, the only other thing is just go out here and just think you're completely invincible. And I think that's what it is. They think they're invincible, they think they can get away with it, so why not? And I agree, I think it was the Jeffrey Epstein stuff that probably finally pushed her over. I mean, of course, people had their suspicions about Epstein and what he did, but when it honestly, everything still hasn't come out, because I think they murdered him, to be quite honest, because he had a lot of relationships with some of the most powerful people in the world. You got princes and royalty and former presidents and
Former
you know
founders of Microsoft Corporation.
right, CEOs, political, officials, all of these high ranking people. And so it's like, you know what? If this guy goes to court, all of our stuff is going to come out and we got to shut that down. So
Right.
I personally think that's what happened to him. And I think for her, when the next set of things started trickling out about what they did to these young girls, as young as 12 and 13, she was like, bruh. And it's pictures of him with this guy.
Right.
And, she's probably thinking, I got to think about my brand. Because
Right.
if everything that she's done pretty much in her visible career that we've known about, it's always been linked to Microsoft, it's always been linked to him. And so whatever blows back on him as a result of this Epstein stuff, she was going to have that stink all on her. And
Right.
she's like, I got to get this stink off of me no
Right.
matter what.
Right. Yep. No, you make a good point. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, and like you mentioned, what do people who have power, have influence, have money, have wealth? What do they want? More.
More.
Women, what do you if you already have, and this is the part that's burning me up. If you already have a woman partner, whatever the case may be, you've laid out the arrangement, you laid out your wants, you laid out your demands, you
And
laid out
she's
your
down with
requirements, and she says, or they say, okay,
it.
I
Just don't
would
make me out a fool.
just don't embarrass me. Just, what is
Don't
it?
have my name in the streets.
Right, right. And it's like, sooner or later, which again says something about that type of arrangement if nobody can really, well, let me not say nobody. I don't know everybody in the world. I don't know what their relationship arrangements are. Maybe there are a lot of people who are able to coexist in this type of we are together, but we still have this open relationship,
Open
whatever.
relationship.
Maybe there
Or
are
an
more people,
understanding of whatever the
you
case
know,
may be.
but it just seems like the people at the top who then mess up the arrangement because again, like
After
you,
27 years, I
right,
mean, you were getting away with it.
right. The people who are messing up the arrangement by just don't make me look bad. This looks bad. When you are in your job as the founder of a company, reaching out to women in some dorky way, kind of like, hey, will you go out on a date with me?
Yep,
If
yep, yep.
not, just forget, burn this email. That's weird, and that gets the word gets around. You
Yeah.
know,
It was eventually going to come out,
right.
but you pretty much had this going on for 30 years
Mm-hmm.
and it hadn't made it mainstream. I'm sure maybe their circle knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Microsoft employees knew about it, but nobody was going to say anything because he had this cookie cutter,
Mm-hmm.
clean, background that no one would ever believe that any of this was true.
Right. So, and like you said, maybe that emboldened him. I'm Bill Gates. Who's going to think I'm out here, pimping in these email inboxes?
Who
Who's
gonna check me, boo?
right, right, right. But again, like I mentioned, I'm pretty sure there are many of relationships out there who have these sort of agreements and we never hear about. Maybe that's a good thing, but I'm I'm curious how many go both ways. What I mean by that is how many of these relationships, especially with these influential people, these rich and wealthy guys, to where the guy says, "Hey, I've got these certain needs and whatever, however they frame it,"
Hmm.
and then puts this proposition out, and then she says, "Okay, that's fine. Well, as a woman, I have
I
certain
have certain
needs
needs.
and blah blah blah
Hmm.
blah. So here are my conditions." I'm curious as to how
I'm
many
sure that's
people.
a resounding no, unless there's a flip in the power structure. So, say
Right.
that the woman is the one with, the money. She has all the money in the world. She can do anything she wants. And her partner, husband, whoever, he doesn't have that level that she has.
Right.
So, if you want a sugar mama, then maybe you're willing to put up with some things, which I'm sure the case in some instances, but probably 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work on the flip side.
Right, right, right. Which again, it's a double standard.
Patriarchy.
Yeah, right. Patriarchy. There are some instances. I guess indirectly you could look at maybe Will and Jada Pinkett Smith, their
Yeah,
relationship to
theirs was
where,
kind of balanced where they
yeah,
both could go and do their own thing.
again. But the problem is,
Don't make me out a fool.
don't have me out here looking stupid. And from what we can tell, there's always been rumors about Will Smith and certain people, but you
Hmm.
never, it was
He
never
wasn't sloppy with it.
right. And then, oh boy, what's August
April August
Alsina out
Alsina
here
getting his
wilding, and I'm
feelings.
pretty Jalen Smith's like, yo, keep
You
your mouth closed, and he couldn't, and
She
then
should have NDA'd him, but she didn't. And I bet Will Smith got all his NDAs lined up.
and that's probably that face he was making on the red table talk when he was talking. He's like, "You got me out here looking like a
Looking stupid.
clown, like a
A straight
clown."
clown. Even though I've been doing the same stuff that you're doing.
But
But
I'm
he's the
keeping it
good
on the
guy
low.
movie star.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't keep your boys in check, girl.
Yeah, and it could be men's ego. That's probably why a
Yep.
lot of those relationships don't work when a woman is the one with multiple partners. I don't think men's ego can handle,
That.
I can't.
Hmm.
My ego, my visuals cannot imagine, I can't. So do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I would never proposition my wife with any type of mess because I wouldn't want her to then turn
To
around.
flip the script.
I'm like, nope, my
Shut it
mind
down.
can't handle it, so I'm going to not even go there.
Right.
But yeah, it is kind of you got everything, and it's like your thirst for more kind of
You can't just be
messes
happy
there. You can't be
with
happy.
$130 billion. You just can't be happy.
You got to be in the email inbox. All right. All right. So that's all I got for the culture. We're going to move forward to the hookup. I had a I have a lantern outside. I don't have a regular porch light. The previous owner of our home put a full-on lantern outside, and it's nice. But I had to every night, remember to turn it on, turn it off, turn it on at night, and we wake up in the morning, turn it off. So I was like, all right, smart home. I'm gonna try to automate the process. So I did some searching. I searched some smart lights. I've got some smart light products, but those are not really supported as much anymore, and they're not HomeKit. So I found this company called Aquara, Aquara. They make smart home products, and they have a basic on and off switch that connects to HomeKit. So I purchased it. Very affordable. Some of these smart switches, the actual that you replace the wall light switch with, not the ones that you plug into. I actually replaced the light switch. Those are like anywhere from $40 to $60. This Akara, I want to say Akara, smart home light switch was like $25. So I figured I'd go ahead and give it a shot. Purchased it, very affordable. Did exactly what I needed to do. Connected to HomeKit. The only con I have with it is you have to buy the hub. You had to buy like a hub that connects to your Wi-Fi via the router. So I did have to go out and purchase that. But even still, the purchase of that and the purchase of the light switch was still cheaper than actually buying a separate switch from some other places like Insteon, or there's another popular one. Anyway, I can't think of the name of it.
Hmm.
So, but the benefit to the hub is I don't have to plug it to the router directly. Some of the other hubs that connect smart home switches, you got to connect them physically via Ethernet cable to the hub. This just connected Wi-Fi. Then it did exactly what I needed to do. Connected it to HomeKit. Now I've set a automation to where at sunset, turn on the light. At sunrise, turn it off. So now I don't have to, go through that process of turn it on, turn it off. So that is my hookup for the week. If you are looking for smart home products, and they don't just carry lights, they carry door sensors, window sensors, temperature sensors to where it can detect the temperature in the room. All of these products, they are HomeKit enabled. They're also Google Smart Home Assistants and Alexa Smart Assistant enabled. And check them out. So we'll put a link in the show notes, but it's Aquara.com. So Aquara.com. So definitely check them out if you're looking for smart home enabled devices. All right. Nica, if you don't have anything else, I think that's going to do it for this week's show. We definitely appreciate everybody for watching, tuning in, listening, and supporting. One of the ways you can download, rate, and review us via Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Please go in and give us a like, give us some stars, or write a quick review. It doesn't have to be long, but that helps us go up in the rankings where more people will discover the podcast. Definitely, you can engage with us on Twitter. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at SnobOScast. Definitely watch us on YouTube. We're at SnobOScast. And again, if you're watching, definitely give us a like, drop us a comment, and be sure to subscribe to the channel and get notifications. Definitely, you can leave us comments and suggestions. You can do so on the web. We're at snoboscast.com, or you can drop us an email. We're at snoboscast@gmail.com. Finally, if you want to support us monetarily, you can become a member of our Patreon for as little as $5. You get access to our live show, so you'll get to watch it as we record it. You'll get exclusive pre-show content that won't be on the actual show, and you'll get access to our community. So we definitely want to thank our Patreons. Yes, Lutron was the name, Charles. So just a show, if you are a Patreon, you get to watch us live, and we will respond to you live. So Charles, one
Be
of
a
our,
part of the
yeah,
conversation.
he definitely dropped the name. Lutron is the name of the smart home switches that are comparable, a little bit costly, but again, that's the name of it. So definitely thank you, Charles, for that shout out.
And thanks to Dino and both Charles for being in our chat today and talking with us
Yep,
as we do the show live.
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, if you don't want to be a member of the Patreon community, you want to give us a one-time love offering, you can do so via PayPal. If you go to paypal.me/snobos, you can give us a one-time donation to say thank you. So other than that, I think that is it for this week. We are out. Peace.
Bye.